All right, Mafia, Colorado, the Buffaloes, Deion Sanders, all of this controversy has resulted in clicks. 3 straight weeks of Fox Big Noon Kickoff have the Colorados of this college football world replaced Texas already.
If you're asking, no, that's ridiculous. No, look, nobody thinks that Deion's going to be there longer than probably when Shedeur graduates or decides to go to the NFL. I think there's every opportunity that he could move along. He could be in the NFL. I think Florida is going to be a possible landing place. I mean, Dallas Cowboys, depending on how they're playing well last night, but I mean, they could be looking for a coach at the end of the year. So I think Deion at Colorado, even though he says all the right things, he said all the right things about Jackson State too. So I just no, they're doing well now, and they ought to capture that and sell all the T-shirts they can and do everything. But in 2 or 3 years, I think Deion's somewhere in the SEC. That's my guess.
So you've already given us the odds on Oregon State, Washington State to the Big 12. They were 99%. You're 99% confident that in 4 or 5 years, Deion Sanders is not in Boulder still and not in the Big 12 by virtue.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. And with that, then, if Deion's gone, is there still a mighty Colorado that we're seeing right now through 3 weeks of college football?
I mean, I'm the first one to admit that I thought they might win 4 games, and they're obviously going to win more than that. They have some deficiencies. Depth is still not where it really needs to be if they want to compete with USC and Utah this year in the Pac-12. Next year, they're going to be loaded. They'll have another class underneath them that they'll be, ready to play. But everybody's kind of holding their breath right now about how good TCU is. And what I saw at Colorado State on Saturday night, that did not look like a top 15 or top 20 school to me. So they've still got some room to grow. The thing is, the Big 12 is wide open for brand value. And you've noticed several things that have come out. UCF and BYU, you're very high on those brands in the Big 12. You've talked about how some of these other brands are maybe receding a little bit. So there's going to be a shuffle over the next 2 or 3 years, but don't be surprised if a lot of the new schools that are just being brought in now, and I would throw Oregon State in that if they were to come in the next couple of years, the regular guys might not have the tip of the hat that they think they do now.
So let's open the Jackson State conversation. Not been on ESPN in the last month.
Right.
We haven't heard anything about Jackson State, quite frankly. But when Deion was there, every other thing was Deion Sanders and Jackson State.
Right.
Do you think if it stays true and he leaves Colorado in 3 or 4 years, which, look, not shocking anybody, he's not telling anybody that Colorado is his dream school for the rest of his life.
Right.
He's a journey. He's going to be a journeyman at least for the first couple of stops into possibly the NFL, which I think he's ixnayed to an extent. But God knows every coach says, I'm not going to do it, and they do it. So, Mafia, if that happens to Colorado, we're going to be sitting here the same way. In a month after he leaves Colorado, Boulder's died down, and they've shuffled into the pack of the TCUs and Texas Techs with a brand similar with the rest of the league.
Yeah. I think all the brands in the Big 12 pretty much have the same value. That includes Utah coming in. In my opinion, Utah is a great brand. I've never talked bad about their brand, but they're not any bigger than BYU or Texas Tech or TCU or Oklahoma State. Kansas State is flying high, and then they sort of have a knuckle of a game on this last weekend. So I just think that forever the Big 12 is going to be that conference that has every year 4 or 5 teams that could win it and could make some noise in the playoff.
So do we separate? This is tough. This is a tough question because it's going to tick off some Colorado fans. Do we now have to separate Deion Sanders and Colorado already in his tenure because of who he is?
Yes. Yeah, have to. And if you're not being honest with yourself and you're a Colorado booster or you're a graduate that loves to go back and puts value back into your university, you have to understand that Deion's a personality as much as he is a brand. And when he moves on, will they keep some of that cachet? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But have you ever been to Boulder? It's a granola, very, they're not flash. They're certainly not any better than any of the schools that we just talked about. For that matter, the other schools that are coming in. I mean, for all I know, Cincinnati goes on a run for 4 or 5 years where they're just dominant, right? But I don't know. Colorado has a national championship. They've got a legacy, which I'm not putting down at all. But that doesn't mean that for some reason all of a sudden the lid is off and their capacity to grow is some greater number. Right? Just math doesn't. Their history doesn't prove that out.
Now, Mafia, you're saying all this, not me, and I don't have room to push back here because where I sit, I have not seen enough of Colorado in the Big 12 the second time around. That's what I'm waiting for with bated breath. This isn't the first time they've been here. I got to watch Colorado in the Big 12 the first time, and they weren't world beaters by any means, and they certainly have not been world beaters in the Pac-12. I am pro what Deion has done to revolutionize college football and bring it into the new era. So where I want to go here to put a spin on this for the Colorado fans that have thrown their phone across the room. If Deion Sanders is in Boulder for a decade, going against the odds that I have made and that you have made, because I agree, again, he's got a personality that belongs in the SEC.
Right.
Say he goes a decade in Boulder. Is he built, because now we separated him in the program, is he built to win in the Big 12 as long as he's here?
I don't know. Look what he's got in his. He brought in Travis Hunter, who unfortunately got hurt. By the way, that really sucked. I think he was one of the leaders in the clubhouse for the Heisman. And then he's got 2 sons on his team. His namesake is a videographer. He's not even playing football anymore, and he has a daughter. So where does he go if all of his kids are out of school, which would be that 4 to 5 year horizon? I don't know. He wanted to give his kids the best opportunity to be successful when he went to Jackson State. Anybody who's looking at it any other way, did he want to raise the profile for HBCUs? Of course he did. Does he want to give undervalued and underprivileged kids access to things that they don't normally have? Yes, of course he does. All those things are in his spirit. They're in his own little mantra, mojo, if it was. But does that mean that in some way he's the latter day Bobby Bowden? Come on. Bobby Bowden was at Florida State, at the time, one of the most prestigious private football universities in the country for 35 years. Boulder is not that. That's not a destination in that way. Mike McCarthy, he was there. He did good things at Colorado, but are they any better than pretty much anybody else you could throw a hat in and pull out in the Pac-12 this year? Because it's not just Colorado that's doing good in the Pac-12. They got 7-8 teams that could challenge for the championship by the end of the year. Yeah, that's how deep they are. Kind of like the Big 12 has been the last couple of years. And is Deion going to do more than he already is? Look, you can delude yourself to believe anything. Fans, especially fans, can delude themselves to believe anything if it meets their own expectations. But is there anything in the facts that say Deion is proven that he's going to be there? He's not going to sign a letter in blood. So what's the draw to keep him there? It's certainly not going to be money, because the Big Ten and the SEC will be able to throw $10 million, $12 million at him a year. Who can compete with that in any other conference? Nobody. Right. I don't know why people would be upset by that, because it's a fact. He came there and he basically told Colorado, your project. I'm coming to you, and here I have this. I'm coming, but now he's already changed it to I'm here. So where does he go from here now? I don't know. He went from he wasn't anywhere to now he's here. Now he goes from where he's here to what? Dominate the college football world? Could that happen? Anything's possible, but is it likely? I just don't see it.
Wow. Mafia with a hot take on Deion Sanders in Colorado, which is actually a pretty even keel normal take if you pull away the smoke and mirrors and all of the hype. BYU and Kansas this weekend, Mafia. Let's talk some games coming up this weekend. It's the biggest one on the docket in the Big 12 because Baylor sucks. That's coming up next on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.